Parents, brace yourself. In a fortnight, you'll have 700 pages of bedtime story to get through. Will you please welcome J.K. Rowling? The J stands for Joanne, I believe, but Joe, but
yeah.
everyone calls you Joe.
Yeah.
And is the K isn't actually your name, is it?
No, it's my grandmother's name. They wanted a second initial, so I took Kathleen.
And is that
my middle name.
To make it sound more highbrow?
Blokey.
Or more blokey?
Yeah, they thought it was a book that the first book would appeal to boys.
If you had the double
and
initial?
Yeah, they thought maybe they'd be turned off by a woman writing.
Like there's the author A.S. Byatt.
Yes, who's a woman.
Yeah, but I thought we didn't know what the name stood for, and we asked our kid, and she said maybe it stands for Animal Sounds. That'd be a great name for someone. Animal Sounds Byatt. How'd you do? Well, Joe, thank you for coming on the show.
Pleasure.
I'm a huge fan of the books. Obviously, the
Thank
kids have adored them, and you know, I'm speaking on behalf of just about everyone in the country, I think, when I say just how magnificent they are, and what a lovely contribution you made to our life. Really, it's genuinely, I feel honoured to have you here. So thank you for coming on, J.K. Rowling, who has created magic for us over the last few years. And also, I'm delighted you're here because I know you don't really give a lot of interviews.
Not loads, no.
Do you find it easier now, though? Is it something you've just got more accustomed to the attention, or is it because the whole thing's behind you now? You've finished the books.
I think finishing the books it's definitely been a release. I feel more relaxed. I thought I could come on here now and crash and burn, and what does it matter?
It doesn't matter. How much of your life have you spent with those books, with those characters?
17 years.
17 years?
I was 25 when I had the idea.
Wow. And how long between you having the idea and the first book being finished and then published?
7 years.
So
I've been published 10 years.
That's a long journey you went on it just to get it out there.
Huge.
And the first book, is it why you came up with the idea for the book? You were on a train?
I was on a train. I don't even know what I was thinking about, and the idea just came into my head.
OK. Before we talk about Harry and the huge journey you've been on with those characters, what do you have planned next? What do you have... Do you know what you're going to write next, or just a long break?
I just want to take a break. I really do.
Do you think you'll go back into fiction which works for children and adults like the Harry Potter books, or...?
I honestly don't know, but I've said all along, and I still mean it, if I only ever write for younger people, I will never see that as second best.
My wife the other night was reading a Judy Blume book to my little girl.
Right.
And I was listening in the background, and man, I got really caught up in this book. It was a great book.
She wrote some great books.
Yeah, and normally I'm saying, send her to bed so I can have sex with you. But last night, I was saying, I want to find out what happens on the summer holiday. Did she get the carpet she wanted? It was brilliant stuff. Did the first bar expedition work for her?
Oh, I know that one.
They go shopping for a bar. It was quite moving.
Yeah, it is moving.
It's a lovely book, and you know, and when fiction for children is written well, of course, it's second to none.
I think so.
But is it true? And I've heard this reported that when you started the books, you wrote was it the epilogue or
the epilogue has been written
the final book
for years, yeah.
And you had that kept safe all that time.
Yeah. Well, they said I was keeping it in a safe. Of course I wasn't. I kept losing it. But yeah, I had the information in the epilogue.
So you knew where you wanted to go with this whole sequence?
Definitely, yeah.
And did you never feel like changing your mind? I mean, because I know sometimes when I've spoken to authors, they get to know characters while they're writing them. They know what they want to do with them, but certain characters come to the fore more and you change your feelings.
I changed it slightly. I have 2 characters I intended to keep alive die. But then that's been taken to mean that only 2 characters die in the book, and it's a bloodbath. It's a bloodbath, isn't it? Well, no, it's not a bloodbath. But it's more than 2. But you see, but there is a kind of a responsibility that comes with this, of course, because once children in particular, but adults as well, when they got hooked into characters, you don't want to see people dying, even though dramatically it might be more satisfying and it might be more true. And it helps you illustrate the evil of the bad characters. Yeah. I remember sort of saying earlier, when Cedric died, I was horrified. Were you upset? See, my husband didn't give a damn. Oh. He didn't like Cedric.
Did he? He didn't like Cedric. No. Why not? Too posh?
He got the girl. He was too smooth. Yeah. He was quite glad to see him go, I think.
But he was so decent at the end, Cedric. I thought that's why I liked him.
He was very, stiff.
Because he was very sportsmanlike in a way that very few people are. I thought I don't, you know, early on in the book, I didn't care for him at all. I was quite happy for him to run over or something. But the end part, I didn't want to see him go. So you cried at Cedric. Did you cry at Dumbledore? Nah, because Dumbledore's an old man. He's had a long life. Oh, seriously. Look. Off. Coffeeanus. Is that the way to do it? I don't know. That's beautiful. That's poetry. Is that a problem, though, when you're writing a book with magic at the core? The fact that, in a way, you could do anything and explain it.
That's absolutely a central problem from the beginning, was to establish the limits, not what magic could do, but what it couldn't do.
So the parameters.
So you had to put the walls in place and contain the action. Otherwise, you've got no conflict, and without conflict, you haven't got a story.
And you haven't got any real kind of emotion when someone dies,
exactly.
if you could bring them back.
Sure.
Obviously, the books are written by you, and they're coloured by your view of the world. But is there much of you as a person in the books? Are any of the characters more like you? Are your family in the books? Are the kids people you knew when you grew up? How much is it based on people in and around your life?
I think the three main characters maybe are all aspects of me. Hermione is most obviously so, because I was quite swotty,
quite bookish,
introverted when I was a kid, yeah. I became less so, and she becomes less so.
Yeah, well, like people go up, of course,
yeah,
but she's a fabulous character.
I think so, I love her.
And I'm pleased that she's accepted and people like her for being like that, which is perhaps part of the message, I guess,
I hope
in a subtle way. What about Harry? So what's Harry got that comes from you?
Well, he must come from me because he's totally imaginary, although various people have claimed to be the inspiration for Harry. It's absolute bollocks.
So how does that happen? Someone says that's based on me.
They just crop up. It's really
kids people from school and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's incredible vanity to say it's based on me, even though you've said it isn't based on anyone.
Yeah.
But do they have a scar on their forehead and some sort of...
Doesn't seem to matter.
Okay. Who of the people you know in your circle of friends or your family, how many people have been allowed to read the new book?
One, my husband.
And is he a fan of the books?
Well, he hadn't read any of them before we met, but he's got to say he is now, hasn't he?
Yeah, he can't read that.
Yeah, he liked the seventh one.
Okay, and what about your children? 'Cause I know your oldest daughter is a big fan, isn't she?
Yeah, she's nearly 14.
Has she read it yet?
No, but she's going to get my first copy.
Well, now, I think it would take quite a lot of control not to let your eldest child, who knows the book's finished...
She didn't want to have it before she finished school, before she finished term, because the pressure was going to be quite immense on her.
How difficult is it to keep things like this secure and to keep them quiet? Because, you know, if it was out early, if it snuck out in some way, it would be on the net, wouldn't it? It would be
it would, yeah. The last 3 books have been stolen from the printers.
Really? So when the manuscript's handed in?
Yeah, yeah.
And how do they get that back? What happens then? I mean, were they published illegally? They weren't. They managed
to... No, all three of them disappeared at the printing stage.
And they will be covered?
Yeah. It's all a great story, and I only know half of the details.
Was it a house elf?
No, it was a bent security guard.
Bent security guard. Was Dobby the house elf based on Gary Lineker? I've always wanted to ask you that.
No.
But the physical resemblance, you can see what I'm saying.
No.
Yeah, the craven attitude and the big ears. No.
Gary Lineker's not craven.
Let me take the penalty. Please, Harry, give me a sock and I'll take the penalty for you.
How difficult was it for you when you were approached for the film rights, and how much control were you allowed to hold on to?
Well, I said no initially, because Warner Brothers weren't the only people who wanted to do it, so I said no to everyone. And then Warner's came back and said, well, they thought it was a money issue, so they said, would you like a little bit more money? And I said no, and my problem was I didn't want to give them control over the rest of the story.